So today, I'm going to talk about one of the communes that I visited in September. It was called Twin Oaks. It was in Northern Virginia, outside of a community, a town called Louisa. There's actually quite a few there. There's like 5 or 6 in that area. I visited 5, so yeah, I visited most of them there. But Twin Oaks is part of the FEC, which is I think it's the Foundation of Egalitarian Communities, or the Federation, something like that. But these are egalitarian, meaning that they share their income and they share the work. Everything's shared. So you own everything there, but you don't own anything. And that creates kind of a, I don't know, a good thing for me, I feel. I feel like it was nice to be able to, for one thing, many hands make light work, so you're kind of sharing the workload with everyone. At some of these egalitarian communities, they usually had like a 40-hour work week that you were required to work. Some would keep a timesheet, others didn't. Twin Oaks was one of those places that did have a timesheet. You had to work 42 hours a week, and that could be divided up into 21 hours in their business industries, and then the other 21 hours in like community work, things like washing dishes, sweeping floors, that sort of thing. And you can kind of divide it up how you want to and do whatever you want. You just have to keep track of it. In exchange for that work, oh, and by the way, the type of industry work that they had to do at Twin Oaks was they had a really big tofu operation, like a tofu factory. So you could work in the tofu factory making tofu, and the other business they had was making hammocks. They used to have Pier 1 Imports as one of their accounts. So the hammock business was at one point really lucrative for them, but since I guess they've recently lost Pier 1 Imports, maybe not recently, but they've lost Pier 1 Imports as an account, and now they still make a lot of hammocks, but less than they used to. So you can make hammocks, you can make tofu, and there might be other little odd industry jobs there too. Which there are. They did have a dairy, and they did have a huge garden. With the dairy, they made milk, they made yogurt, and they made cheese. What else? So they have, I think it was 7 residence halls. Oh, by the way, there's 85 people that live there, and 85 adults and 15 children, so like 100 people. So it's it was one of the larger communities I visited. 7 residence halls with however many, it was almost like dorms. So each adult would get a dorm room. So if you went as a couple, you would get actually 2 dorm rooms, and you would both be required to work 42 hours a week. It would be like you were basically separate, but you could do whatever you wanted with your dorm room. So if you wanted to just stay in one, you could. Some of the kids went to public school, some of the kids were homeschooled there. They had one building dedicated to the kids, educational facility with bunches of toys and educational stuff, I guess. It was a wooded property, so they had a forestry program they would go out and collect wood, and they had stacks and stacks of wood, just tons of wood stacked up all over that they used for heating. You could be on the forestry team if you chose to. You could be in the child education aspect if you chose to. They also had community buildings for dining. They had a huge commercial kitchen, full dining area, all kinds of different community rooms for meetings and social events, whatever. They had, what else? They had a music room where you could, you know, they had like guitars and drums and all kinds of music instruments you could play with. A library, that's pretty standard on most communities. In these videos I can't really show you all the pictures I took. I wish I could. It would make so much picture, what is it? It says 1,000 words. It says 1,000 words. They had a big herb garden, really nice one. And this older lady who was kind of the caretaker of the herb garden knew her stuff very well. What else? They have community clothes, like I mentioned with that hat. That hat did not come from there, but came from a sister egalitarian community. But they had one as well. You could go in, it was like a thrift store, and you could pick out whatever you want and take it. What else? Let's see. The car policy there was basically members could not have cars on the premises, so if you wanted to continue owning a car, you would have to leave it at home, give it to relatives or whatever, sell it. I guess you wouldn't sell it if you wanted to have it. But if you didn't want to have it, you would just sell it and then move there. They had a whole list of cars, like a checkout booklet, and you could check out a Prius, you could check out a 15-passenger van, you could check out a minivan, you could check out a pickup. They had all kinds of different options. And basically, at some places, you can just check those cars out and they keep them filled and they do all the maintenance. At this particular one at Twin Oaks, if you want to check out a car, you do have to pay 35 cents per mile. So that can get a little pricey. I think that they try to keep trips to a minimal. They try to encourage people to carpool or to rely on public transportation. I guess there was a bus option nearby. That sort of stuff. But if you did need a car, they were available, and you would pay for that out of your personal income. Basically, you get all of your food and housing and everything else that you would share there, like a pond for swimming, a sauna for saunaing, all that. And the standard of living there was good. Like it was nice. It wasn't run down and like beat up and dirty and gross. It was pretty well maintained, well organized. Their facilities, their industries seemed like they were doing well enough to support the community for the most part. The gardens looked good. Oh, and the personal stipend, in addition to being able to use everything on the property, you also get a $75 a month personal stipend for things like maybe deodorant, toothpaste, stuff that you wouldn't be sharing there that you still would want. Renting a car, whatever you wanted to do with it. So it's interesting. There was a big part of me that felt inclined to consider that option. The problem I personally might or might not have is I don't know if I want to live the rest of my life in a dorm room. I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel like it would be that big a deal. I mean, it's just a space to sleep in and keep your personal possessions in. The rest of the time you wouldn't have to even really be there. But I guess the question for me is, you know, I get the whole community thing and I love community, but I also love my personal space. I love being able to escape to somewhere comfortable, safe, and quiet, to read, to reflect, to feel like I'm in a womb or something. I don't know, I just have a need for that. And so I feel like if I lived in a dorm, you know, I've lived in dorms and I know what they're like, and I know that these could probably get a little rowdy too. Or even if they're not rowdy, they, you know, you got people talking outside in the hallway, you got things banging around. And for me, that's not really quiet. It's not really private. The other thing about these dorms, like it or not, most of them had open door policies in the bathroom, so it would be as if there was no door to the bathroom, so somebody could be in there taking a shower, somebody else could go in and brush their teeth while somebody's sitting on the throne. Which one of those would you prefer to be? I don't know. I did ask the question, like, what if somebody didn't want that? And they said some of the residence halls don't have that policy, so you could pick that place to live. Or you could go out to the compost toilet and sit on the throne. The other thing I didn't like about Twin Oaks was that it wasn't off-grid. And because of the size of their industries, I don't think it could ever be off-grid. So, I don't know. I want to live my life in a way that I'm getting as close, I mean, reducing my footprint as small as possible. I don't know, there's probably a lot of things to think about there. I mean, where can you go to work that's off-grid? That's a good question. And I think there are good answers. I can think of some right now. Like if you sold vegetables for a living. But then how would you get those vegetables to the market? Oh, it's also complex. But that should not keep us from striving. Couple things I'd like to say, I guess. Thanks everyone for continuing to watch the videos. I've noticed that the FSB page is growing in followers. That's pretty cool. Hoping you're liking these videos. I hope it's you know, creating thoughts for you to think about. I'm open to any feedback or thoughts that you might have. Some of you are messaging me and letting me know what you're thinking. That's cool. I enjoy that. As far as the community thing, I just covered Twin Oaks today. There's like 14 others. Maybe I'll talk about something much different that I went to. But this one would be very typical of the egalitarian communities. Acorn was like it, but had only about less than a dozen members, so a lot smaller, very different. I would like to put together a presentation here in Chattanooga that has all my pictures from my trip and that would discuss each of the communities individually so that you could get a full picture of what it was like, or a fuller picture. I'm hoping to do that in November, which is right around the corner. Been talking to the people at Poe Market about that idea, so hopefully, and we'd like to collaborate with people who are maybe doing stuff like if you have interest in off-grid living, maybe you would want to have a booth, a little booth, educational booth, Maybe you're an herbalist. Maybe you are into zero waste. Things along those lines. It would be good to collaborate together and have like a kind of an Earth awareness series. So keep an eye open for that. If you're interested in working together, let me know. What else? Oh, you can find these videos on YouTube. I don't know if I mentioned. I think it's at Spiritual Bruh. And on the Facebook page, you can find all the videos. FSB, fucking Spiritual Bra. All that's missing is you to take from. Never mind. Anyway, I'm gonna end it there. Talk to you later.